Hey, welcome back. I'm your host, Minister Holloman, and welcome to another episode of Real Talk. Real Talk means telling the truth just like a T.I. is. There's no sugarcoating it. We don't water it down. We tell you just like it is. Anyway, we'll talk about that. A few housekeeping things. We do not have a comment section just yet. We're working on that. But if you have my number, my personal number, send me your comments. Send me the things that we need to talk about concerning Mr. Paul and what he's getting ready to tell us today. So if you will, and everybody that knows me, give me a round of applause for Mr. Eric Paul, who is in the studio today to give us some inside information about what he does, who he does it for, why he does it, and why God called him, why this ministry, why this going into the places where nobody wants to go and trying to give them another chance to do so. So I'm going to turn it all over to Mr. Paul. Mr. Paul, welcome to the studio. Welcome to Real Talk.
Well, thank you, Minister Holloman. It's been a while.
Yes.
I've been several months, actually.
Yes.
But thank you for inviting me again, and I'm glad to be here. First of all, my name is Eric Paul, and I represent an organization called Transition Solution Enterprises. We do prison reentry. What is prison reentry? We assist individuals who are incarcerated as they transition back into the community. And that's a task that we took on, and we're really excited about doing it. There's a number of people that constantly transition out of prison back home, and we would like to connect with those individuals so they can have success.
So, Mr. Paul, what is your success rate so far as your putting people back into the modern world after they have been locked up for, I don't know, 5, 10, 20 years, whatever? What are some of the mindsets that you deal with going in and out of prisons like that?
Well, a lot of it has to deal with the individual who's coming out, who's transitioning home. If they have the proper resources and they have the will to be successful, they can be successful. And the reason they can be successful, because you got to have resources, you got to have a place to live, and you have to have opportunity. If those things are presented to the individual coming home, they can have success. But it starts with that individual. Just like people on the outside, people are free. If you want to work, you're willing to work, and you're willing to take responsibility of your own life, you can have those opportunities given to you.
So, okay, that's great to know. But tell us why you in this. What are you getting out of this?
Helping people. I don't get anything out of it. I mean, I get some joy. I get joy out of it for helping individuals who are transitioning out. But people need advocates. You know what advocacy is? When you speak for other people. When someone's incarcerated and they're coming home, a lot of times that stigma, which is attached to coming out of prison, we all have different stigmas attached to us. So when someone comes out of prison, if you don't really understand what incarceration looks like or what it truly is, when that person comes back home, or he or she's coming home from prison, people look at them a little bit differently. And it causes people to have a perception, a negative judgment, shed a negative light on that individual. So it becomes very difficult to overcome those people's mindset.
So how do you help them to transition out of somewhere that they have been for so long? What encouraging words do you give them, and tell us about some of the programs that you offer?
Okay, we offer, we have a veterans reentry program, we have a post and pre-release program. So what we try to do is identify individuals who's willing to do the work to be successful. Now, some people say that they want to come out and work and do what's necessary to better themselves, but to actually do it, we have to identify people who really want to do it. Because it takes a lot to come back out and, get connected to the resources that we can connect you to. So once we identify that individual, they may have to go to counseling, they may have some mental health illness, that's big, and substance abuse. So we have to find out what their needs are and identify the needs and connect them to the proper resources.
So how do you get them, once you have done all of that, How do you get them to come out of their shell? How do you get them to understand that going back out to the real world is necessary?
Well, if they want to be successful, and once again, we try to identify individuals who want to come out and be successful. And once we do, we connect them to the proper resources. We connect them to their families, because families play a big role into reentry.
So if you say the family plays a big role, are you that advocate for the family or for that inmate or that correction person that's in the jail? How do what you do helps them to be a better person and not be afraid to return to society?
Okay, once we identify the individual, we connect with the family. If a person's when the person transition out, the family really needs to understand that they have a vital role in assisting that individual coming out. Now, if that individual has burned bridges or has caused the family not to want to communicate with them any longer, what we try to do is be that in-between person. You know, like we kind of focus on, okay, let's talk about what we can do to help both sides. Because if a person's coming home and they're homeless and they have family members who may have a room available to them, then we can remove that homelessness by having that person live with that person, that family member. But that family member has rules, rules and responsibilities. So what we try to do is identify with the rules and responsibilities that the family member wants implemented prior to that person's coming home. And so we try to negotiate with that family member, the individual coming home. And there's another piece I want to talk about, probation and parole. Because that person coming out of prison may be on probation or parole, so they're responsible to the criminal justice system once they get out. So all those three pieces have to work together in order for that person to have some sort of success.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes. I mean, we are understanding everything, but there's a question that seems to be out here now. And that question is, what new information do you have that can help the inmate and the family come closer together to understand, or try to not get them to re-entry or visit their past and allow them to go forward? What new programs do you have, or what new information do you have that can help them to be successful?
Well, one thing we try to emphasize is that connection. When someone goes away into prison and they're incarcerated, it's important for the family to stay connected.
How important?
It's a lifeline. I mean, if we're stay connected and we're communicating on a frequent basis, you come to visit, we're writing, we're having phone calls, we stay connected, then you know what's going on in my life. Mm-hmm. Not only the person incarcerated knows what's going on in his family's life, but the family knows what's going on in the person that's incarcerated's life. So it keeps them connected. So when it's time for that person to come home, they're not coming home to strangers. We all have family members that we're not connected with, and we're somewhat strangers. Am I correct?
Yes.
So, but if we're not strangers and we're connected, it makes it easier when that transition takes place.
So again, we're asking the question: what program, what new information do you have that can help somebody on the inside that wants to come home and don't know how to come home?
Okay, when they come home, you have to have identification. Your birth certificate, your social security card, a driver's license. You have to have certain type of documentation. So what we try to do is, as that person is transitioning out, try to identify how we can locate those documents. So when that person comes out, social security card. Without a social security card or a identification card or a driver's license, it's very difficult to get a job. Birth certificates are important. Some people don't know how to locate their birth certificate. So the paperwork is vital as that person transitions out. You got to have it. Now, there's employment opportunities. There's a lot of what we call felon-friendly organizations that will hire ex-offenders. But we identify those employers, and then we have our offenders apply to those particular jobs that may be less difficult to obtain because they are felon-friendly employers.
Now, being incarcerated so long, do your agency deal with attitudes? How to deal with what they have done, and be able to be successful when they come out dealing with. So, how do y'all deal with their attitudes, and how to see that they need to make a positive change in order to make the step out to the real world?
Well, in Virginia, and that's where I do a lot of my work. I have clients in Maryland. We have clients in Maryland and D.C., but most of our clients are in Virginia. Virginia has a program called Thinking for a Change. So at their reentry sites, they have several reentry sites. So when people are coming out, prior to coming out, they send them to these reentry sites so they can get trained on how to navigate and how to handle different situations as they transition out.
Okay, so how do they get this information? How do they know where to go? Do you have that information where they can go and look up, or are you privileged to say what it is or how they can go about getting that information?
Well, in the Virginia prison system, it's like prior to you having 6 to 8 months prior to leaving, they put you into what they call a Thinking for a Change reentry program. So it's like automatic through the system.
Mm-hmm.
So it's something that's available to individuals as they get ready to transition out. Now, what we do on the other hand, once we identify individuals that we want to work with, because we can't work with anyone, we're a 501c3 organization. You know what that is?
Yes.
But we're a nonprofit organization, and we're very small. That doesn't mean we're not effective. We just don't have a lot of resources to give out to everyone. So once we identify someone who's willing to do the work, and it's a partnership.
Mm-hmm.
We can't expect them to do everything, but they can't expect us to do everything. For an example, if we set you up for a job interview, we expect you to go. But I don't want to get off topic. But basically, there's stuff in place, information in place that can help people as they transition out.
Okay, so how can they go about getting a hold of you? How can the family members reach out to you and get even more information that we're not talking about on this podcast just yet? But how can they reach out to you and be effective and give their loved ones some hope?
Well, you can reach me on, I have a cell phone. It's 804. You don't mind if I give it?
Go ahead.
804-590-8515. My name is Eric Paul. Or you can text me at that number, or my email address is epaul@transitionsolutionsenterprises.org. So
Okay.
reach out to me and we can talk and see how we can help you.
Okay, we're going to come back with Mr. Paul in about 2 and 2. But get your questions together. See, the one thing we got to always understand about reentry is that we all have somebody that has been in that situation before. Whether it's your family, my family, whatever. Somebody's been in that position before. And if we don't learn how to give proper responses for them to be able to get out, some people just don't belong in there. Some of them are there because of association, with somebody else they knew or was in the wrong place at the wrong time. That's all part of coming back out to the real world. So when we come back, we're going to ask Mr. Paul some really tough questions about how can we work together and everybody go home.